History books often give us a neat version of America as past, but what about the parts that don't add up? What about the mysteries that were forgotten, buried, or deliberately erased? In this video, we're uncovering the hidden chapters of America's story, mysteries that remain unsolved, secrets that still haunt us, and legends that just might change the way we see history itself. Welcome back, history seekers. Today, we're re-diving deep into the lost history of America, the hidden mysteries that textbooks leave out. From vanished colonies to unexplained artifacts, and from forgotten civilizations to legendary treasures, these are the secrets that keep historians, archaeologists, and mystery hunters searching for answers. So, grab your curiosity, because we're about to journey into America's greatest hidden mysteries. When we think of America's history, many of us immediately picture the Revolutionary War, the Founding Fathers, or the westward expansion of pioneers. But long before these chapters were written, the land was alive with civilizations that thrived, built, and mysteriously vanished. These weren't just scattered tribes or nomadic hunters. They were complex societies with cities, trade networks, spiritual traditions, and architectural marvels that rivaled the great civilizations of the Old World. Yet, despite their achievements, so much about them has been erased, forgotten, or buried under centuries of silence. Take the ancient city of Cahokia, for example. Located near present-day St. Louis, Cahokia was once larger than London in the 12th century. Imagine massive earthen mounds stretching toward the sky, ceremonial plazas buzzing with life, and tens of thousands of people gathering in what was essentially North America's first urban center. Yet how often do we hear about Cahokia in our classrooms? For centuries, it was left out of mainstream history, dismissed as little more than a curiosity. Archaeologists still puzzle over why such a powerful city collapsed. Was it war, famine, climate change, or something else entirely? We still don't know, and that silence in our history books speaks louder than words. And then there are the mound builders scattered across the Mississippi Valley. These massive earthworks shaped into animals, spirals, and even astronomical patterns show an advanced understanding of mathematics and the cosmos. The Great Serpent Mound in Ohio stretches over 1,300 feet, a mysterious monument that still sparks debates about its true purpose. Was it a ceremonial site? A cosmic calendar? Or perhaps a spiritual symbol for a people whose stories are now gone? What's undeniable is that these builders had knowledge and vision that rivals any ancient culture across the globe. Yet their names, languages, and full histories have slipped through our fingers. Farther west, legends speak of the ancestral Pueblones, often called the Anasazi, who carved entire cities into the cliffs of the American Southwest. At Mesa Verde and Shaka Canyon, their homes rise like stone fortresses, complex structures with rooms, ceremonial kivas, and intricate road systems stretching for miles. They flourished for centuries, only to suddenly abandon their cities in the late 1200s. Why did they leave? Was it prolonged drought, conflict with neighboring groups? Or was it something more mysterious, something we may never fully uncover? Their descendants, today's Pueblo people, carry forward fragments of these stories, but so much remains lost to time. And what about the Mississippian culture that stretched across the southeast, or the vast trade networks of the Hopewell? People who moved obsidian from the Rockies, shells from the Gulf, and copper from the Great Lakes across thousands of miles? These weren't isolated groups. They were interconnected, building a web of trade and culture long before European explorers set foot on the continent. Yet much of their history was silenced, either by the passing of time or by the deliberate rewriting of history that came with colonization. Even in the far north, the story of the Norse settlers in North America still fascinates us. We know of their presence at Lonso Meadows in Newfoundland around the year 1000. But legends suggest their journeys may have taken them deeper into the continent. Did they interact with native cultures? Did their settlements vanish because of conflict, disease, or simply the crushing isolation of a foreign land? The sagas whisper possibilities, but the evidence remains elusive. What makes all of this even more haunting is how much of this history has been erased not by natural mystery, but by human choice. Colonization brought not only new settlers, but also diseases that devastated native populations and deliberate efforts to suppress indigenous knowledge and traditions. Entire oral histories, the lifeblood of many of these cultures, were silenced, leaving us with only fragments, stone ruins, earth mounds, scattered artifacts like puzzle pieces from a box that was never complete. And yet, despite the erasure, the land remembers. Every mound, every carving, every ruin tells us that great civilizations once thrived here, civilizations whose stories could reshape our understanding of America's past. When we look at the ruins of Cahokia, the mysterious spirals of the Hopewell, or the cliff dwellings of the ancestral Pueblones, we are staring at lost chapters of history that demand to be remembered. These cultures weren't simply background characters in America's story. They were the foundation, the first chapters of a book that is still being written. History is full of mysteries that have never been solved, and America holds some of the most fascinating. These are the events that leave us with more questions than answers. The stories where records trail off, where eyewitnesses vanish, and where speculation fills the gaps left. The Lost Colony of Roanoke reminds us of how fragile early attempts at colonization were, and how the line between survival and disappearance was razor thin. And yet, despite centuries of searching, no one can say for sure what truly happened. Every discovery only deepens the intrigue, leaving us with more questions than answers. Hidden away in a library for centuries, there exists a book that seems to defy reason itself. A book written in a language no one can understand, filled with strange illustrations of plants that don't exist, astronomical charts that don't match our skies, and bizarre human figures immersed in mysterious rituals. This is the Voynich manuscript, often called the world's most mysterious book, and for over 600 years it has taunted scholars, cryptographers, and codebreakers alike. No one knows who wrote it, what it means, or why it even exists, making it one of history's most perplexing puzzles. The manuscript is named after Wilfrid Voynich, a rare book dealer who discovered it in 1912 at a Jesuit college in Italy. At first glance, it appeared to be an old medieval text, handwritten with great care. But when experts examined it, they realized they were staring at something entirely baffling. The manuscript is about 240 pages long, though some believe it may have originally contained even more. Its pages are filled with strange looping script written in an unknown alphabet, unlike anything found in any known culture or civilization. It flows like a language, complete with repeating patterns and grammatical structures, yet no one has ever managed to translate a single sentence. What makes it even more bizarre are the illustrations. Page after page reveals drawings of plants that seem both familiar and alien: leaves, stems, and flowers that resemble real botany, but twisted just enough that no species matches anything on Earth. Then there are the astronomical diagrams, stars, suns, moons, and zodiac-like wheels, suggesting that whoever wrote this book was recording some kind of cosmic knowledge. But the most unsettling are the human figures. Small, naked women drawn in strange pools of liquid, connected by tubes and pipes, as if part of some forgotten ritual or scientific experiment. The images give the manuscript an almost otherworldly quality, as though it were a message not meant for human eyes. Naturally, people have tried to crack its code for centuries. Some of the greatest cryptographers in history, including those who broke military codes during World War II, attempted to decipher it. They analyzed the script, the patterns, and the frequency of the words, and still, they came up with nothing. Even modern artificial intelligence and computer algorithms have struggled. The text has the structure of a real language, yet it resists every attempt at translation. This has given rise to countless theories. Some believe it is an elaborate hoax from the Middle Ages, created to fool wealthy collectors or patrons into believing they were buying secret knowledge. Yet, if it were a hoax, the effort involved is staggering. Why invent a completely abandoned? Meals were half prepared, the crew's personal items left behind, and the logbook missing. Theories have ranged from piracy to mutiny, hurricanes to government conspiracies. To this day, the Deering remains one of maritime history's most enduring mysteries, earning it the nickname the Ghost Ship of the Outer Banks. And then there are the mysteries tied to individuals rather than groups. Consider the disappearance of Ambrose Bierce, the famous American writer and journalist. In 1913, at the age of 71, he traveled to Mexico, intending to witness Pancho Villa's revolution firsthand. He wrote letters along the way, but then he vanished without a trace. Was he killed in battle, executed, or did he simply choose to disappear, leaving behind his life and reputation? With no body, no records, and no confirmed witnesses, his final fate is still debated, leaving readers of his haunting stories to wonder if his end was as mysterious as the tales he once told. These events aren't just isolated curiosities. They remind us how fragile records can be, how quickly stories can slip through the cracks, and how many of history's questions will never be fully answered. America's past is dotted with unsolved mysteries that defy explanation, moments where fact and legend intertwine so tightly that separating them becomes impossible. Each story invites us to look deeper, to search for answers in the silence, and to wonder what other enigmas still lie hidden beneath the surface of the history we think we know. Across America's vast landscape, buried beneath forests, deserts, and river valleys, lie the remains of cities and artifacts that challenge everything we think we know about the past. These are not just scattered ruins, but entire civilizations that seem to have vanished, leaving behind silent reminders of their existence. Their stories were never written in textbooks, yet their mysteries endure, inviting us to question who built them, how they thrived, and why they disappeared. One of the most fascinating examples is the story of the lost city of Aztlan, a place deeply rooted in legend. According to Aztec mythology, Aztlan was the ancestral homeland of the Aztec people, a city of origin said to lie somewhere north of Mexico. Some researchers believe Aztlan could have been located in the American Southwest, possibly along the Colorado River or in present-day Utah. While no definitive site has been found, explorers and archaeologists have long speculated that ruins hidden beneath sand and stone may hold clues to this mythical city. If Aztlan truly existed within American borders, it would rewrite what we know about the movement of ancient peoples across the continent. Equally captivating are the rumors of cities hidden deep within the Grand Canyon. In 1909, a newspaper article in the Arizona Gazette claimed that a group of explorers discovered vast caverns filled with Egyptian-like artifacts, statues, and hieroglyphs. According to the story, the site was allegedly investigated by the Smithsonian Institution, though the Smithsonian later denied any involvement. Was it a journalistic hoax, or could there really be evidence of a lost civilization buried within one of America's most iconic landscapes? The lack of evidence has done little to stop treasure hunters and researchers from chasing the mystery of what might lie beneath those towering canyon walls. The ruins of Etowah in Georgia also add to the puzzle. This ancient site, once a thriving center of the Mississippian culture, features massive earthen mounds, ceremonial plazas, and a wealth of artifacts including copper plates, carved shells, and ceremonial statues. Many of these artifacts display symbols and designs that suggest a complex spiritual world, but some also hint at connections to distant cultures. Were the people of Etowah in contact with civilizations far beyond their region, or were they creating a unique style of their own? The artifacts offer hints, but no definitive answers, leaving the site shrouded in intrigue. Further west, in the deserts of Nevada, there are legends of a lost city known as Nevada's Atlantis. Early settlers and explorers claim to have stumbled upon ancient stone ruins buried in the sand, with walls and structures that seemed out of place for the region. Over the years, the stories have fueled speculation about a forgotten culture that once thrived there. Some even suggest connections to the mysterious Lovelock Cave, where giant skeletons were allegedly discovered alongside unusual artifacts, though much of that story has been dismissed or hidden in controversy. Artifacts themselves often speak louder than the ruins. The Kensington runestone, discovered in Minnesota in 1898, is carved with runic inscriptions suggesting Norse explorers reached the heart of North America in the 14th century, long before Columbus. Many scholars consider it a hoax, yet others argue the weathering and carving style could point to authenticity. If genuine, the runestone would drastically change our understanding of pre-Columbian exploration, proving that European contact with the continent was deeper and earlier than accepted history allows. Another curious find is the Bat Creek Stone, unearthed in Tennessee in the late 1800s. The inscription carved into the stone was long thought to be Native American in origin, but later analysis suggested it resembled ancient Hebrew script. This sparked endless debate. Was it a forgery, a coincidence, or evidence of contact between Old World peoples and native cultures centuries before Columbus? The artifact continues to divide experts, caught between mainstream dismissal and alternative theories that point to a lost chapter of human history. The mystery of America's lost artifacts also extends into tales of vanished treasures. Legends speak of gold hidden by the Spanish, secret stashes of riches buried by outlaws, and even Confederate gold that disappeared at the end of the Civil War. These stories blur the line between myth and reality, yet they persist because every so often, a discovery is made that keeps the hope alive. A chest unearthed, a coin found in an unlikely place, or a relic pulled from the ground can reignite the possibility that legends may hold more truth than fiction. What ties all of these stories together is the sense that America's landscape itself is hiding chapters of history we've yet to uncover. Cities may lie beneath layers of earth, artifacts may rest in forgotten caves, and treasures may be buried in places where no one thinks to look. Every discovery sparks new questions about who was here, what they created, and why it was left behind. These lost cities and mysterious artifacts serve as reminders that history is not a closed book but a puzzle, with missing pieces scattered across a land that still has secrets to reveal. Every nation builds itself on stories, and America is no different. But not all stories in America's past are neatly documented in textbooks or carved in stone. Some live in the hazy space between fact and folklore, whispered across generations, carried in songs, or etched in local legends. These myths and tales blur the line between truth and imagination, yet they carry an undeniable power, shaping how people see their history and their identity. Some are rooted in real events that history has yet to fully explain, while others may be born of exaggeration or mystery. Either way, they remain woven into the cultural fabric of the nation. One of the most enduring of these legends is the mystery of the Lost Colony of Roanoke, a story that has already captured countless imaginations. While historians treat it as an unsolved event, for many Americans it has become a mythic tale, a symbol of beginnings and vanishings, hope swallowed by an untamed land. The word Croatoan, carved into wood, is more than a clue. It is a ghostly signature, turning the Roanoke settlers into larger-than-life figures whose fate may never be known. For some, they merged peacefully with local tribes. For others, they were claimed by darker forces. The story has taken on a life of its own, transforming from a historical event into a legend that refuses to die. Then there are the myths of lost treasures that linger across the country, often tied to moments of upheaval or conflict. The most famous of these is the legend of the Lost Confederate Gold. As the Civil War drew to a close, rumors spread that Confederate leaders, desperate to keep their wealth out of Union hands, hid a vast fortune in gold bars and coins somewhere in the American South. Theories place it in Virginia, Georgia, or even deep in the Appalachian Mountains. Treasure hunters have searched rivers, caves, and abandoned battlefields for decades, yet no definitive discovery has ever been made. Some say the treasure was spirited away to finance secret societies. Others insist it still lies buried, waiting for the right person to uncover it. The absence of proof has only strengthened the legend, turning it into a story of greed, mystery, and eternal pursuit. Another captivating myth is that of El Dorado's American counterpart, the Seven Cities of Cibola. When Spanish explorers arrived in the 16th century, they heard tales from native peoples about golden cities shimmering somewhere in the deserts of the Southwest. Driven by dreams of wealth, Coronado led an expedition across what is now New Mexico and Arizona, chasing this vision of endless riches. What he found instead were pueblos made of stone and clay, not gold. Yet the legend did not die. For centuries, the idea of hidden golden cities beneath America's soil has haunted explorers, storytellers, and dreamers alike. The story of Bigfoot, while often treated as modern folklore, also belongs to this tapestry of American legends. Rooted in Native American oral traditions of wild men and forest giants, the modern image of Bigfoot as a towering, elusive creature wandering the Pacific Northwest has grown into one of America's most recognizable myths. Whether people see it as a surviving prehistoric species, a spirit of the wilderness, or simply an invention of imagination, the legend of Bigfoot reveals how myths can bridge ancient traditions with modern curiosity. It also highlights humanity's enduring fascination with the unknown that lurks just beyond the edge of civilization. There are also tales of hidden civilizations that never made it into official history. Stories of Welsh explorers arriving in America before Columbus gave rise to the legend of the Mandan people, a native tribe said to have lighter skin and European-like features. Though largely dismissed by scholars, these stories persisted in the 18th and 19th centuries, feeding the belief that America held forgotten connections to distant lands. In the same vein, stories of giant skeletons unearthed in burial mounds across the Midwest circulated widely in the 1800s. Newspapers reported on them, local folklore embraced them, and whispers suggested that ancient giants once roamed the land. Were these exaggerations, hoaxes, or misinterpretations? Whatever the truth, the legends endure, leaving us to wonder what truths may lie beneath the soil. And we cannot forget the myth of the Fountain of Youth, tied forever to Spanish explorer Juan Ponce de Leon. While history suggests he never truly searched for it, the legend insists that he wandered through Florida in pursuit of waters that could grant eternal life. This story, half history and half fairy tale, has become inseparable from Florida's identity, symbolizing both the dreams and the illusions that shaped early exploration. It may not be true in the literal sense, but its impact on American mythology is undeniable. National myths and legends are not just entertainment. They serve a purpose. They give people something to chase, something to believe in, something that explains the mysteries left by history's silence. They can grow out of real events like Roanoke or the search for gold, but they often transform into something larger, something symbolic. They are reminders that history is not always about dates and facts. It is also about imagination, memory, and the need to find meaning in the unknown. These stories endure because they are part of who we are, whispering to us that somewhere, hidden beneath the surface of the familiar, mysteries still wait to be uncovered. As we journey through the forgotten civilizations, the unsolved events, the lost cities, and the myths that still echo through America's past, one truth becomes clear: history is never complete. The stories we inherit are only fragments, the parts that survive the passage of time or the versions chosen to be remembered. But between those fragments are vast silences, mysteries that challenge us to look closer, to question what we think we know, and to listen for the voices that were almost lost. Every mound, every artifact, every unexplained disappearance, every legend passed down through whispers and folklore, they are pieces of a puzzle that is still unfinished. And perhaps that is what makes these mysteries so powerful. They remind us that history is alive, not locked away in books or museums. It waits in the ruins, in the rivers, in the forgotten corners of the land, daring us to seek, to wonder, and to never stop asking questions. Because the greatest mystery of all is not just what was lost, but what we might still discover